We're good? Okay. All right, I want to call this meeting to order. It is 3:01 on May 27th. Roll call of people here. Do you do that?
Yeah, I can. Jack Scrogstad,
I'm here.
Tom Wilson, Danielle Allen,
Here.
Casey Considine,
Here.
Keen Hudson.
Okay, well, let's look here to see if we have one visitor here. You want to make a comment or anything like today, or are you good, or?
I'll probably have questions afterwards.
You won't be able to have any questions afterwards, so this is your time to speak. Okay, all right, you can meet with us afterwards, but it won't be during the meeting. You won't be able to talk during the meeting. Okay, all right, so we have visitor. Mike, can you just say your name again? Mark Sacchetti, I'm sorry, Mark. Mark Sacchetti is in the house. I did see Mr. Nicholson here. He stepped out. He may be coming back in. So Mark does not have anything to say right now. What we have here is the minutes from our last meeting. It's been quite a while, so hopefully everyone had a chance to look at that. If there's no changes on that, I'm going to assume that it has been approved. November 1st. Okay. All right. So if there's no objections to that, we're gonna have those approved. Old business, it's just ATV discussion. That's what we're here for, but we're just gonna kind of go right into the new business. And that is the Torma Township letter that was sent to the townships back in January. Did everyone get a chance to read that? And you look at this is from a James Donnellan, the executive of Torma, and he has it titled Low Speed, and he sent it to Mr. Goro, who apparently is a representative for the townships commissioners in all of Lee County. And I've had a chance to meet with Mr. Donnellan and via phone, and Mr. Goro by phone, and spoke with him about this letter. That conversation is in the resource book, or the resource part of that. So you guys could see a little bit about what our conversation was. And I'm just kind of move on from that. We can just have that in there. Look at the map, and this is basically, Jonathan, do you have a copy of that map that you could put it on the screen at all, or no? You do not. Okay.
It's in onboard. If I can.
Well, Jonathan's working on trying to give that to let the audience see the different townships of our map that we have. Does that go on Zoom also, or YouTube, whatever too? So, okay. So we, as we all know, the committee, we've sent out letters and been in contact with the 22 different townships throughout the county. And we were asking them as part of this is that we need to get a consensus from them and for them to draft an ordinance allowing the UTVs to operate on their roadways, not only just county roads, but the township roads. And we, at this time, I have got in green, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 townships of the 22 townships that have basically sent in a copy of that ordinance that they are allowing UTVs to operate on their township roadways. And I do have Willow Creek in there. However, Willow Creek's ordinance, in my opinion, is not valid, because basically what they did is we sent them a draft copy. Remember, guys, that draft copy that we sent out to everybody? They took that draft copy and they used that and signed it and sent it back to us. It doesn't have anything to do with Willow Creek in there. It has no verbiage of Willow Creek. It's just basically the draft copy that said Lee County on it, and then they signed it and sent it back to us that they accepted the idea. So I sent an email out to, I can't think of her name off the top of my head. Huh?
Anne.
Ann. I sent an email to Ann. I have not heard back from her. I did send her a copy of a blank township, where it's a fillable form township that basically all she had to do is tab through and put in Willow Creek and have their members vote on that and send that back into us. So in my opinion, their intent is there. They just haven't got it to us correctly. So with that said, this is what we're looking at as possible roadways. And okay, there it is. It's on the board there. All right. So and then on that map there, I've got an overlay of different orange boxes that just kind of represents the different cities. I didn't have a place to really put the cities. Everyone could probably look at it and figure out which cities are there. But those cities are the ones that we still need to reach out to get a consensus that we can operate on their roadways. Some of them have already UTV ordinances that are going through that have that. I believe Amboy has one, Papa has one. I think Franklin Grove has something like that. Dixon has one. So we just have to work out details, having our UTV ordinance merge with them. I have not done that. And the reason why I have not done that is because we only have 8 townships at this particular moment. And if we was to continue to go through this UTV ordinance and with only of these particular townships, we would only be able to operate on those township roads that are highlighted in green and the county roadways, which are indicated in blue. And I mean, really highlighted in blue. So it looks like you'd have to drive on a township road or on a county road, kind of like what's the word I want to say? You really got to go out of your way in order to get to, let's say, from Dixon to Ashton. You really got to almost go all the way all down to Amboy to legally drive on those roadways, again, if we pass this particular ordinance. So with this is all that is. And then also, I was hoping that we would have all 22 townships on board and we wouldn't really have to worry about signs. So if this is the case, we're going to have to then invest in signs for our roadways. Okay, so so this is what we're looking at. This is where we're at right now. And because of the Torma conversation that I had with Torma and the conversations that Torma has had with the other townships, they're basically feeling, and in their opinion, they feel that there is a more exposed liability. And now my understanding is a lot of these townships, they want to be involved. They want to do this, but Torma has pretty much put a little scare in them a little bit. So I reached out to Charlie. I was hoping Charlie could be here today, and I kind of put this to him, and I basically explained to him the conversation I had with Torma. I shared him with the letter we had, and I based my concerns, and he has responded back to me. And this is from an email that I have. I have expressed those concerns. I think we are cute yet legal with what we are doing in the draft ordinance. I cannot sit here today and tell you that the county will not be liable for anything, especially without a sufficient safety study. And and I went back with Charlie on that particular safety study that he quoted, and in the law that indicates that we have to have a consider, and I believe the road committee did that. We tasked them to consider the conditions of the road, the traffic flow, and all that. It didn't say a study, because I did go to David Anderson and I met with David, and he says there's no when this law puts out, it doesn't give, what's the word I'm trying to think of, parameters in order to do a study on. It just says to consider the road traffic and the road, the traffic flow and the character of the vehicles. So a traffic study is not really capable because of how the law was particularly written. So I stand here today with this committee, and I'm going to suggest a motion, and then we can have a debate on this motion, and then have a vote of that motion. But I'm going to entertain a motion that we continue to go forward with this ordinance by contacting the cities based on the townships that we have right now. Anyway, I'm gonna entertain a motion similar to that.
I make a motion that we continue to pursue the draft ordinance that we have, or the ordinance that we've discussed, and go after the towns and townships to see if they'd be willing to support it.
I'll second that.
Okay, now we have a motion on the floor. Now we're up for discussion on this. So now that we have the motion on here, then I'd like to discuss that, and I open the floor up for any kind of discussion based on what we have going on here. All right, Mr. Hudson.
I think we should have a clarification on this liability issue from Charlie Boonstra, myself, because we get started and keep on going, and all of a sudden we'll stop in the middle of this stream and just get the liability issue clarified. So I think it'd be easier for everybody involved, other townships and cities that we want to contact. But myself, I feel that this liability issue should be clarified one way or the other, so we know exactly where we are in this issue.
One of the discussion I had with the township, the Torma people, their issue was with the law doesn't necessarily say that we're basing this UTV ordinance on doesn't explain or doesn't indicate 55. It says 35. But as I explained to the Torma people, that our vehicles are wider than what is proposed in the law itself. The law, it says 65 inches or less UTV, and then all of these vehicles need to only operate on 35-mile-an-hour roadways. Well, we have expanded those vehicles to be 65 to 75, I believe, inches wide. And Charlie believes that we are okay with that new vehicle to go outside that 35-mile-an-hour limit. And so basically Torma is like, well, the law doesn't say 75 or 65 to 75. So they're basically saying that if an accident took place, an attorney representing whomever, I'm assuming that it's the person that was involved in the accident with the UTV or was injured, and it's on a roadway, the first thing they're going to look at was the sign in the right spot? Was the road curved at a certain angle or whatever? Was there any serious problems with the roadway? And then, okay, it's a UTV. What's a UTV on the roadway for? And then all of a sudden they're going to look back and they're going to say, hey, this is not a 35-mile-an-hour zone. That's where they're saying the liability issue is, and that's their opinion. And at the bottom of that letter, you can say that, please remember, I'm not an attorney, is just my opinion and a statement shall not be considered legal advice. But yet he's throwing that out there. So when I throw this to Charlie, he says he believes we are still legal in this regards, even though they are cute with the law, he calls it. So that's his response to that particular thing. So anyway, that's my answer to your liability issue there, because that's what he has told me.
More
Casey?
of a comment, Mr. Chair. I believe that anything you do, there's liability, and as long as we're writing a law that's legal, and I don't see why we couldn't move it forward. I get that there's risk, there could be an act of God, anything could happen. But how do you shelter yourself from all risk and all liability? And do we not allow people to the pursuit of happiness in our county because we want to govern them to the point where they can't ride over to their neighbor's house or to take their kids to ice cream or to do something like that, just simply because there's risk there? I don't think so. I feel that we should have the right to do this. Other states allow it, other areas allow it. I think that we wrote the law or the ordinance so that we could regulate it with the requirements that are in that, and that in itself would mitigate some of those risks. And I think that, if we want to discuss it further with townships and with the cities that haven't yet passed anything or haven't given us their written consent, we should definitely do that. I think we'd be doing a disservice to our constituents if we didn't move forward with it, especially those who were for it. So that's why I made the motion.
I just also wanted to maybe make a comment on this. Also in your resource list, I put a couple of House bills that have been put out there for our legislators to take a look at, which would include adding the 55 mile an hour limit to the vehicles under 65 inches. So I think there's a desire for this to be to allow this. Now, my understanding is that the particular House bill did die in committee. I don't know if it was in committee or in the House rules. I'm not for sure. I reached out to Tom Denver's office and he hasn't gotten back with me on that, just to kind of help me understand that process. But either way, they did die. There was some pushback. But I think as a county, especially that's trying to spearhead this, because I don't think there's any other county that is really trying to push this, so hard with this. I think as a county, I think we should reach out to other counties, whether we get the UCCI involved to help lobby for something like this. I can see where certain counties, like near the Chicago area, where there's more traffic, their townships aren't as rural as ours are. And I think downstate, they would benefit from this. I know the western parts of the state would help. I'm sure Whiteside would probably enjoy it. Bureau, Ogle would enjoy this type of a law to allow us to operate on the roadways with certain conditions, like they have been placed. So I don't think that we should stop with this and continue to at least maybe help lobby these legislators. Maybe not this particular legislation team, but maybe the come November. I think that we might be in a better position to have them help maybe listen to some of these ideas. Anyway, so I just think that, even regardless of whether we go or not, I think we should at least reach out and go that route also, to at least kind of make it a little simpler and maybe help define that study or that take consideration, get a little more definition of what they're trying to say there. But anyway, I just wanted to follow up on that. Danielle, any comments?
No, I mean, I think everybody's done a lot of work. I think the townships were on board. I think there's just been confusion. I'm with Casey. We're governing to the point of people aren't allowed to walk down the street anymore. I say we pass it, and work with the townships to keep adding more, right? I think.
We could move forward, and maybe the other townships will say how bold we are, and just say, you know what, we're going to take a bold stance too. So who knows? I'm not for sure. Key, anything else?
Well, yeah, I understand. Go ahead with this, because the clarification issue can come later down the road.
Exactly. Yep.
Mixture on strict other issues, but I understand this issue. Go ahead and.
So
keep
should
it
I
that way.
amend my motion
Yeah,
to
and
send
then
it
we
to
can-
full board to vote on it then?
Yeah, and let them decide and go from there.
I'll make a motion to amend my original motion and send it to full board for approval.
I second that.
Okay. Amended. Now you're saying to send what we have right now, even though we haven't got the other, the other cities?
If they're not on board, then they just will opt out and.
Right.
What about the cities? We need to get them
The
also.
cities, I mean, we can still add it as we go. We've talked about that all along. Like they'd still have the right to be added. We'd update our map that we provide with the folks that are
We
that are
keep
there.
updating it as people come on board.
And we just keep going forward. I think we put progress in front of perfection and we go with what we got. And I think a lot of those townships, when they see the intestinal fortitude that we have, will be on board and they'll say, you know what? I don't want my constituents, I don't want my people, my township to have to go on a county road. I'd prefer they use the township roads, which we know they're all using anyways. We know that they're out there doing this. We have no way to regulate it right now because we don't have an ordinance. So we turned a blind eye. And so people that are breaking the law are doing it and there's not any consequence for them. So this would give the police the opportunity to enforce it, to make sure the vehicles are regulated. And it would also give the township something to do. So I think while it may not be perfect, it's a step in the right direction. So that's why I made the motion to send it to full board.
And we have a second. Any other comments on that? I just need to work really hard to get to those cities as quickly as I can before this goes. That's all I got.
But it'll have to hold over anyways for a month.
Sure,
And once they see
sure.
it there, because it's an ordinance, so it'll hold over. And then I'm sure we'll foster a lot of debate and a lot of interest in it once they see it's at a full board. It's not-
May hold twice.
Well, now is this something that has to go to public safety first? So I
Yep,
think-
you are a subcommittee of public safety, correct? It's not properties, it was public safety. Yeah, so
I
public
think
safety
public
next.
safety, We have to give it to public safety first.
Okay,
No,
so
I thought that's why we did the special committee.
Huh?
I thought that's why we did the special committee was
Yeah,
to
we're
take
a
it out of.
subcommittee, we're a subcommittee of public safety,
Okay.
so.
Okay, you gotta go through public safety. You just recommend it to public safety and then they'll do whatever.
And then from there, it goes on to the county board executive committee agenda.
I'll make a motion to amend them. Just kidding.
Just to amend it to the public
To
safety.
amend it to public safety, not the full board, sorry.
Danielle.
I'll second that.
All right, any other comments, any other amendings? All right, should we do a roll call vote, or I think there's enough here that'll say, I think we'll be able to tell. All right, those all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed? Okay, it all carries. All right,
Make a motion to adjourn then. We have anything else you want to talk about?
we don't have an executive meeting. Next meeting, we don't know yet, but I have a motion to adjourn.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
All opposed? Thank you, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you, guys. Thank you, Keith.
You bet.
Casey, thank you very much for that. Danielle?
Short and sweet, bro.
Sorry for.
Well,
no, you did.
I should have wrote a motion down. I didn't.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
Been around.